A lot of people don't have time to read articles with their busy life and schedule. So I'm going to be a book on tape for you today. So if you are driving in the car or doing something else, you can just put this on and listen to my voice in the background if you're interested in learning about high oxalate foods. So here I go. All of us have heard about someone who was rushed to the hospital because of a kidney stone. Well, this happened to me last year. I woke up in the middle of the night with severe lower back pain on one side. It was so bad that I had to rush to the hospital as soon as possible. The doctors did a scan while I was writhing in pain to confirm that it was a stone moving through my kidney. Guys, it's similar in pain threshold to giving birth. The doctor gave me pain meds to help me get through it, but there was not much they could do other than administer meds to help me pass the stone. The passing of the stone is the painful part. When a stone is moving is when it hurts. It passes through the kidney, then through the ureter into the bladder, and eventually out through the urethra. Most kidney stones are calcium oxalate stones, though there are other forms of kidney stones. So what are oxalates? Oxalates are oxalic acid, is found in some vegetables, fruits, nuts, legumes, and spices, and it is one of many organic compounds that occur naturally. Plants use oxalates to regulate their own internal mineral content and to help defend against predators. Some of these plant-based foods are considered very high in oxalate, some are medium, and some are low in oxalates. Oxalic acid in vegetables, fruits, nuts, legumes, and spices is not like other chemicals in plants. When we stop consuming other problem-causing foods, any negative effects we might be experiencing from them stop. Not so with oxalate-rich foods. Oxalates build up over time in our body, and later on, when they move through the body, called dumping, they cause us pain and problems. Now, oxalates can deposit in the nephrons of our kidneys, in the joints between our bones, and even in other parts of our body like our eyes. Oxalates form crystal-like microscopic shards of glass. They like to bind to calcium, magnesium, or potassium, but mostly calcium. When oxalates bind to calcium, they can then dump or leave the body, usually through our bowels, but sometimes through our kidneys and our ureters. These oxalates rip and tear as they move, and that is what causes the pain, and then those areas that get torn become inflamed. It is good to consume calcium-rich foods, not only for bone and joint health, but so that the oxalates can bind to them and exit the body. Calcium-rich foods are all dairy products, winter squash, canned small fish with the bones. Most people are deficient in magnesium and sometimes potassium. So foods rich in these two minerals are salmon and other fatty fish and other seafood, avocados, certain nuts, chicken, and pork. Unfortunately, there is a whole list of other plant-based foods that are rich in magnesium and or potassium, but they are also on the list of high oxalate foods, so I did not list them here. You're probably asking, what are the vegetables, fruits, nuts, legumes, and spices that contain very high levels of oxalates? Here's the list. They are raw and or cooked spinach. That's the biggest one. Cacao, which is dark chocolate. Almonds, rhubarb, potatoes, beets, Swiss chard, pomegranates, soy and other legumes, figs, blackberries, starfruit, sweet potatoes, kiwi, buckwheat and amaranth, black pepper, black tea, cinnamon, allspice, curcumin, and turmeric, and the rinds of citrus fruit. Vitamin C supplements also contain high oxalates, so avoiding adding more vitamin C through pills, if you are already getting some in the food you eat, is discouraged. Consuming these items in large amounts on a regular basis is highly discouraged. Enjoying some of these items occasionally is fine, but be conscious of the fact that they are very high oxalate containing foods. Since we should not take more vitamin C pills than necessary, foods rich in vitamin C are lemons, limes, other citrus fruit, bell peppers, organ meat, especially liver. Again, I did not list sources of vitamin C foods that are also high in oxalates because C is high anyway, and there are also foods that have other oxalates in them. Now, low oxalate foods are cauliflower, red bell pepper, avocado, grapes, cucumber, squash, blueberries, coconut, apple, cherries, non-black teas, and white pepper. Now, depending on the articles you read, they will list different items, but the ones I listed here are the common foods that are in agreement by the experts. There's also a list of medium oxalate foods you can easily find with a Google search. If you had kidney stones in the past, you are now more likely to get them again in the future. So it is vital that you definitely consume low oxalate foods. The safest low oxalate foods are carnivore. Sticking strictly to beef, pork, poultry, fish, eggs, and dairy will not give you problems with oxalates, as they contain almost zero oxalic acid. By the way, our body makes its own oxalates in very small amounts as a waste product. Not all kidney stones are from oxalates. The three most common types of kidney stones are calcium oxalate, and then uric acid and struvite. The latter is less common and is caused by infections in the upper urinary tract. There are also calcium phosphate stones and cystine stones. In my article, I have footnotes, and you can click them and it takes you to the articles. I have, I think, 7 or 8 different articles to which I'm referring in footnotes. Now, some people who suffer from arthritis might actually be suffering from oxalates, which are lodged in the bone joints. They are like very tiny pieces of glass that when you move that joint, it hurts. So let's summarize ways to not be negatively affected by oxalates. Number 1, avoid high oxalate foods listed above. Number 2, to almost totally avoid oxalates completely, eat a strict carnivore diet or close to it. Number 3, drink plenty of water or non-oxalate fluids with electrolytes. You should always have electrolytes when you're drinking water. Number 4, eat foods rich in calcium, magnesium, and potassium. Number 5, get your vitamin C through diet and don't add by supplementing. And I put a little footnote there here in my talking because you need vitamin C. And when you're coming down with a cold, you want vitamin C. But only then maybe should you take supplements and add to it. Try not to take a lot of extra vitamin C because they have oxalates. And number 6, add apple cider vinegar, lemon, or lime juice, but not the rind. The rind has oxalates. The juice of those citrus fruits do not have oxalates. They actually break down the oxalates. High oxalic acid is in some vegetables, fruits, nuts, legumes, and spices. Oxalic acid forms microscopic shards of glass-like crystals that will bind with calcium, magnesium, and potassium. Avoiding foods rich in oxalates is encouraged. Consumption of calcium, magnesium, and potassium-rich foods is encouraged. And all of this can be accomplished by eating a ketovore or carnivore way of eating. If you indulge in a ketogenic diet, however, be conscious of the high oxalate foods and try not to consume them in excess, as some people tend to do that when they go keto. Yes, keto is healthy, but what distinguishes keto from ketovore and carnivore is vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, and spices. Remember, the closer to carnivore you eat, the fewer oxalates you consume. I'm going to repeat that. You have on a spectrum keto, ketovore, and carnivore. The closer to carnivore that you eat in your foods, mostly animal products, the less oxalates you consume. The closer to keto, the more oxalates you consume. So now that I scared you off, go eat and either moderate your oxalate-rich foods or abstain from them. Eat well so that you look and feel well.